This past weekend, I celebrated the end of September by heading to another writer conference, CapClave 2023. Held annually by the Washington, D.C. Science Fiction Society, WSFS, otherwise pronounced WSFS. Its motto is "Where reading is not extinct," and they have little dodos. It's super cute. Anyway, welcome back to Morgan's Writing Tips and Writerly Musings with writing tips from the pros and, of course, my own Writerly Musings. Today, I'm here with Morgan's CapClave 2023 Roundup. So let's start with Friday, aka mistakes were made. I had taken the day off from my day job as my first panel was at like 4 and I had things to do and travel time. And as I mentally ran through my to-do list, I brushed my teeth and started to use nail polish remover as mouthwash. Do not recommend. 0 out of 10. The moment the bottle touched my lips, my brain shouted in dismay. The liquid touched my lips and mouth for maybe 0.2 seconds. After spitting as much of it out and rinsing my mouth with actual mouthwash, I confessed my mistake to Facebook and asked if I was going to be okay. Then I realized they would just tell me to call poison control, so I did. The lady there reassured me that a woman of my age and size should have minimal issues with the trace amounts absorbed. Thus chastised, I finished packing, ran some errands, and headed east and north to Rockville, Maryland. There was only about a bonus half hour of traffic, which for DC, I'll take it. I made reasonable time, leaving an hour to spare before the first panel I was supposed to be on, and I went to check in, only to be told that Rockville, Maryland apparently has not one, but 2 Hiltons. This explains why the internet had said that the room rate was so much cheaper than the convention rate. Apparently, I had not only booked at the wrong hotel, I had used a third-party vendor and was now totally just out the money. Fortunately, the correct hotel still had rooms available, still a very pricey mistake I shall endeavor not to make ever again. I was batting 0 for 2, not 2 for 0, as I initially said at the con and got totally corrected. I shouldn't make sports analogies. Registration went smoothly, but I did have to correct the name on my badge. I found my way to Courtney in the green room and got my name placard so the audience members could know who I was. I am definitely not a big name draw. And after a quick spin through the dealer's hall, I made it to my first panel with time to spare. Note, all weekend long, I felt honored to be on panels with such amazing authors. I'm still a querying author, barely published, mostly a blogger. I do try to remember to let the professionals talk and only add comments when I can contribute. But I am highly excitable and I don't have a writer's blog because I don't like talking about the process. Thank you all for being so patient with me. Every time I try to do a little better. So my first panel was a maker's playlist with co-panelists Irette E. Patterson, Sunny Moraine, and Elle Penelope, and moderated by Ty Drago. Some of us listen to music while we write, some of us listen to music as inspiration before we write, but we all love music. There was one soundtrack that was repeatedly mentioned that I cannot remember. If you were there, if you were a panelist, attendee, let me know, help me out, tell me in the comments. Anyway, next I attended Introducing the Cozy Fantasy with Sarah Avery, Randy Dawn, RZ Held, and moderated by Bill Lawhorn. Afterward, I grabbed dinner with Randy and Doc Coleman before finally unpacking my suitcase. Yes, I'm one of those people. Now, conventions aren't just panels about writing, and I've heard great things about Sarah Pinsker as a musician, not just a writer. So I hit her concert. Despite an injured shoulder, she filled her hour, and her songs definitely did justice to my inner 90s girl. finally, it was time for my last panel of the night, the Writer's Toolkit, with co-panelist Adina Mignon, Dot Coleman replacing Ken Altafeb and Mike McPhail, who had stayed home sick. Well, Ken's wife was sick, and Ian Randall Strock. We talked about both digital tools and mental tools to help finish your stories. After my panel, I wandered to the con suite where attendees can hang out and grab free snacks and chatted with friends for hours, swung by a party to close it out, and crashed out way too late. Next up, Saturday, aka a triumph. I woke far too early on Saturday, especially considering the hour that I went to bed, and debated if I really wanted to hit that 10 a.m. panel. I was about 3 minutes late making the decision, but I attended the Rejections Happen panel with A.T. Greenblatt, R.Z. Held, Nate Hoffelder, and moderated by Scott Edelman. It was probably worth it. I managed to grab a bagel in the green room, then listened to Judging a Book by its cover with Shireen Nicole, Shahid Mahmood, Nate Hoffelder, and moderated by Joshua Pomaltier. Tons of notes from that one I'll be sharing later. I really wanted to attend more panels, but a nap was calling. And after too much time on TikTok and not enough time spent actually napping, I was up in time for my next panel, What Have We Learned from Pandemic Era Conventions? With co-panelists Ing Heyer, Thomas R. Holtz Jr., and Perry Ann Lurie, moderated by Sam Lubell. Since most of us are staff or panelists for BaltCon, we used a lot of examples from our experiences there as well. I had just enough time to grab supplies from my room, download my slideshow, and set up in the workshop room for my third ever in-person workshop. I'm not a teacher. Better beta reading Both Sides of the Pen. I propped open the door to entice bypassers in, and I'm not sure if that's why, but the workshop was full. I ran out of handouts, but barely. Almost everyone had one. Of course, the slideshow I downloaded was the wrong version. So Yakira let me borrow her hotspot, and I closed the door and passed out the handouts 3 minutes late. I should have had a longer workshop, but the workshop went swimmingly, and I will be drafting an email for everyone who signed up for the beta reading exchange. Doc and I grabbed an early dinner since I'd missed lunch in order to nap. From there, I dropped my supplies off and hit the second half of Alex Schwartzman's book launch party, which I didn't win the drawing. Next up was the mass book signing, where I wasn't going to get any books, followed by the awards assembly. Because I help run social media for WSFS's sister organization, BSFS, the Baltimore Science Fiction Society, I had to attend. BSFS Awards are annual amateur writers award at CapClave every year. Plus, there was cake. Before the panel rooms shut down, there was one more reading I wanted to make it to, The Eye of Argon. For those who are unfamiliar, the original Eye of Argon was written by a 16-year-old fan of Conan pulp novels and published with minimal editing, and is known as one of the genre's most beloved pieces of appalling prose. Its author, Jim Theis, went on to become a journalist, but never wrote fiction again. This was not a reading of Eye of Argon. This was a reading of Eye of Argon fan fiction. It was just a tribute, pastiches, from an anthology collection written by otherwise excellent authors who were very familiar with the original. Reading their contributions were Michael A. Ventrilla, Hildy Silverman, Keith DeCandido, and Jean Marie Ward. Reading his publisher's apology was Ian Randall Strock. I nearly died laughing at least 4 times. Then I visited a room party and chatted and snacked until midnight. Sunday, aka, and then it was done. I woke again in time for a 10 a.m. panel and opted to be a minute or two late again. This time because I figured people would like me better if I was showered. The State of Small Press with Danielle Ackley McPhail, Neil Clark, Ty Drago, Serena Ulibarri, and moderated by Sarah Avery, had a solid cast of characters on it. I, having not recovered from Saturday's lack of sleep, was short on filters. So I raised my hand like 12 million times. The panelists were remarkably patient with me. After the panel, I visited the dealer's room, packed up my room, and checked out. Since my car was in hotel parking, I loaded it and then came back for my last panel. Help! I have to edit my draft. No sneeze. Okay. I was joined by co-panelists Richard Sparks, Joe Miles, and we were moderated by Scott Edelman. This was probably the best panel I was on all weekend, with lots of building off of what each other said comments from each of the panelists. It was more of a conversation that was deftly moderated, an excellent way to end the weekend. With a few more goodbyes on my way to the car, I only missed 2 turns and made it home in time to give Catechus a few snuggles before my weekly productivity live stream, where I actually beta read 8 whole pages in 2 hours. So I recognize that I am privileged to be able to have access to these sorts of events and will be sharing my notes in the coming weeks. All in all, I had a lovely writer's weekend. It was great to see old friends and meet new ones, and I can't wait to see them again. Have you attended any writer conferences? Do you have a favorite? If you haven't, are there any you would like to attend if given the opportunity? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and tune in again next week for more writing tips and writerly musings. Bye-bye.